Let's talk about, so today we'll talk about the HDFS related commands, the interaction with the Hadoop file system, as well as also we'll see some Java related APIs to interact with it. So both from an admin perspective or a command line thing, as well as also programmatically, we'll try to look into the capabilities of the Hadoop distributed file system. So let's initially we just started this thing. If you try right now, you see that there is no Hadoop process that is running in. It has been configured as per the previous session. So Hadoop, let's see, switch to the root user, and then we'll browse around the directories. So excuse me, if you go into this one, you will have Hadoop installed at this particular level. These are some of the things which we saw the other day. Going into the conf, and if you look into the different files, these are the different settings that we modified the other day. So as part of our basic setup, same thing. So the core-site.xml as well as the mapred and your hdfs-site.xml, these are the key things which we modified, and also hadoop-env.sh. If you open the hadoop-env, it should be pointing to the Java path wherever it is available on the system. So that's something which we have done as part of our initial installation. Let's now go ahead and interact with the Hadoop file system. We are currently, let's go to the binary level. This is where we are right now here. So as to interact with the file system, as we saw earlier, that you will have to use excuse me, right now if you do something like bin/hadoop and dfs, that's how you interact, -ls/l, or like the root path, what is available at the root level. Take a look at it, what exactly it should be giving. You can see that it tries to connect. Since there is no Hadoop cluster running, so it will time out. So the first thing to do here is to start the Hadoop cluster, and once that is done, you will be able to directly do a comparison. This is like how it will be interacting. And also let's go ahead and start that particular path. We'll go into the bin directory, and then we'll start all the processes. Since it's configured, the SSH and all is in a password mode, so for each of the processes it will ask the password. It will be there once it kickstarts. The password for on the virtual box which has been shared with you is welcome one itself, so that's something which will be available. Now take a look. To do a good check of all the processes are running, you use the JPS. PS we know in Linux is for process state, JPS is for Java process. It will list you all the Java processes that you have. The processes that we need to monitor is our secondary name node, data node, task tracker, job tracker, and name node tracker. That's something which is available on the top. If you go and open the UI part, all these at least these important processes are available in the UI mode as well, so that you can browse the file system. So let's open these parallel windows so that you see both of them. Now HTTP, if you start the processing, it should be coming. Bear with it. .530 is your MapReduce framework. Right now it will be empty because no jobs, nothing is there, but once you go and start running the MapReduce jobs, you will start seeing the details coming in. If you just do the same and open your 570, this is your name node, and this is the browse the, if you go into browse the file system, it shows the existing one because this is a cluster which is already configured. So I have these many files which are already there. When you will start, chances are that you will not see anything because there will not be anything that is configured. So that's something which we'll do as part of the installation today. We'll try to check that particular things out and all, but once you start, you might not see any important things there or any directories to start with. So that will be there. Let's go ahead and So these two things are the API mode. Now you can see that this is something right now you are seeing your process, like here in your HDFS is running at a 500. If you put it here, this is where it's running on the 575. You can change this port as per the specification itself, and you can run it by specifying the appropriate ports in your HDFS directory, whatever ports, but normally it's like keep it running. Okay, so let's now go ahead and get started. One more thing to know about here is that if you want to check your, now you have checked your MapReduce process, this is the job tracker thing where it runs. This is your current name node. If you open HTTP localhost, and I think it's actually the port 90. This is where your secondary name node runs in. So all these ports are exposed by default, and these are reserved ports wherein your processes runs. You can always change it. You have seen the settings that you do as part of your HDFS and map rate thing. So you can specify those URLs and get the details out there. So now assuming that we have this Hadoop cluster running, let me now fire the same command. This is pwd. Let's go up. Yep. So for people, those who are like we did talked about the initial confusion, FS as well as DFS. So if you just do a VI for the Hadoop thing, just to clarify that both DFS and FS points to the same thing. They have very minor difference, but that's not something which will be highlighted at the normal execution level. One is the FS is basically for a normal file system and all, but DFS is to specifically refer to a distributed file system. Down below, if you come, you will see this particular execution, that if you type FS or if you type DFS, internally it's actually invoking your FS shell only in either case. So that's the thing which you can specify any other person itself, but you also have other different modes like DFS admin, MapReduce admin, FSCK. All these things starts coming into depending upon the different modes in which you are invoking it. But FS, DFS, DFS admin, these are some things, as well as FSCK we did talked about. Once we execute some of these things, you'll be seeing the actual output. But anytime you have a confusion, don't be a Windows guys who have no clue what to be looked into an exe folder or an exe file. Open these files. If you get some hexadecimal and binary content, then of course that's not something which is allowed for you. But most of the time, Linux based flavors will try to share the knowledge with you, and you can get that thing directly configured and all. Okay, so this was a quick doubt, at least that should have been clear for people which is available there. Now let's clear that out. Sorry. And let's try to run the, okay, we are already in bin. So since it's a bash shell, we have to execute one level up. That's the characteristics of a bash shell. If you don't want to do something like bin/hadoop, move to your corn shell. Just type ksh and then you will directly be able to type Hadoop. But herein we'll put that. To list down the directories, we know we have the command ls, very similar to what we have in Linux. So, and you just put down the initial directory. Initially when you will do this command, for people those who are having a raw box, you will not see anything. It will say nothing to display. Just make sure that you create some directories. It's not something of an invalid output, because if you don't have anything, it will not show you the thing. Okay, so let's do some of these basic things, and then we'll take some of the questions that we have on this one. So this is the basic file system. Let's create a directory here using a normal command. We'll call it as /batch 3630 /. That's the directory which I'm creating here. And now if you do a ls, you will be able to see this directory that is available. Sorry. Yeah, I'm just directly showing the directory. If you at the root level, it will have a batch 3 also created. That's thing which is available. Now let's try to move some file into this batch 3 slash 630 directory itself. Now on my local, I have a data folder wherein I have a sample file. You can just see if there is a pg10.txt, a 4.2 MB file is available. Let me try to push this data into this distributed file system in this particular directory. What we'll do is we'll use same thing, bin slash Hadoop. This time I'll use the command dfs hyphen copy from local. We know we also have hyphen put available as well as move from local also. Move will actually cut it. Copy from local as well as put will do the same thing. We'll use copy from local, which is more of a standard itself. Then we'll specify the local directory. Now this file pg10.txt is at the desktop level. That's something which is something here, home, Oracle, desktop, and the data folder. That's where this is available. And I want to move it into my HDFS file system, which is batch 3 slash 630 slash. So this is where you specify simple DFS, and after that all the commands which have been shared or which you can execute at the DFS level. Simple command, if you do just DFS space hyphen help, it will tell you all the commands which are available, and a good amount of it has already been shared with you. Just do an enter. It moves that particular data. If you want to take a look, you can actually browse around and take a look at that. You can see it has moved the whole data folder. If you go there, it actually has copied this pg10.txt file in your, that's what we listed down. This is the directory that we listed down. So it has moved this data. This is a simple usage or a way by which you will be sending data. Now you can script it out. You can have a normal script written which reads a specific folder and pushes a file into this, but the commands which you will be writing will be typically these type of commands, and this is a way to get the data into the file system. Now if you have to copy the same like this, whatever the data that we have, just use the opposite, that is copy to local, and that will be able to do that. The parallel command is available. I think that's something you guys can practice, but this was the way to push the data. Copy to local is just the opposite command. Now if I have to see the content of that file, now that's a good amount of file itself in terms of its size, but let's use the cat command. Let's use batch 3 slash 630 slash data slash pg, what's that, it is pg10.txt. You can see it shows you the content of the data. That's a 4.5 MB data. It's basically the file that you're seeing is a txt file for a Bible copy. That's something what we'll be using in our MapReduce framework later on. And we'll talk about some of the questions, guys. First, let's go through some of the standard things that we do. Let's not try to jump, and we will definitely address those individual concerns. Let's first talk about some of these things, and we'll see some more low-level details once we open it for the Q&A. So this is a simple way to read the file as the instructions that has been given. If you have to take a look at the individual disk usage as to how much space or the statistics for it, you will just use the du command. That's something which will give you the disk usage for that specific thing. It gives you in bytes how much this particular thing is getting used directly in terms of memory and all, how much it's using the capability. To remove the file and all, you can do the parallel things and all. Now if you look into the visual mode for these particular files, now let's go into our HDFS. Let's go into the, I'll just do, right now you can see that it does not refreshes it. Still see batch 2. Let me refresh. It should show the batch 3. On refreshing it shows batch 3 630 data, and you can see it has copied this file. So this is the usual or the visual mode by which you will be able to get the details or the data. You can visually configure the same. Excuse me. That something is there. Now you can see here that the replication factor is 1. This is a running cluster. So let's try to change the replication factor for this particular directory. That's something which we know will be able to do through the setrep command. So let's try to do the same. bin/hadoop dfs -set rep. We'll make it to 3/batch3/630/data. Application 3, you can see that this is the 3, it is set to 3. Now if you refresh it, you'll see that now the replication is 3. Internally, that's a command to your name node to now make 3 possible copies of it, and that's what it will try to do internally. Now that all that is something abstracted from the end user, but this is a way to control it at static time level. So this is a dynamic time level that existing, it is available and you are changing it. We know that if you go into the conf folder to set it dynamically, you do have that thing. It's, I think, where did we set it? In the HDFS-XML, this is the place where we set those details. The replication factor, that is for a cluster level thing, all the directories will be there. So either you can change it here, that is for the entire cluster, or you can use the setrep command, the one that we did, to change the replication factor dynamically at runtime. That's something which will be helpful itself. Now right now, just take a look at this. I'll just show you setrep now. Just try to, let's list down the access thing, ls, and my bad, I think, okay, we are in the conf directory. That's something you'll have to make sure that. So right now the root has access to this directory. You can see it has the same things, drw, in terms of the access that it goes, but you can use the change mode to specify or give more access to a specific file or a node as you would like it to be on that particular part. So these are some simple HDFS related commands at a command line level, or I'll say at a developer level, normal things that you will do. Now again, I have already shared with you the list of the command. Let's try to check that out. If you do the list for all the jobs that are running in, this is what right now there is no jobs running in, but when you have MapReduce framework wherein you submit the jobs, this is a way to list all the jobs which are running, and it shows you any current jobs. The same this is the same as your visual mode, wherein right now you see here there is no jobs running in. So Hadoop distributed HDFS file system is tightly integrated with your normal command line mode also. So whatever your MapReduce framework will be showing you visually, you can control it through command line thing. Almost everything is configurable and can be done through the command line. Don't have to actually make any specific changes, or there is nothing which is just available in the UI which can't be done here. So you can play around with that particular part on this one. Okay, now let's see. There was a question, I think, gentleman, that okay, it will be doing. So start all and all will actually execute it, but if you want to selectively start, like if you want just the name node to be started and all, you will just have to do the start-dfs, and in a multi-cluster mode you will also configure your master and slave file, these slave files, as well as there is a master file also which you see. Once you specify, and the moment you fire this start-dfs.sh, depending upon whether that system is configured as a master or a slave, it will start the data node or the name node. The same applies to your map rate thing, whether to start the job tracker or the task tracker. All the slave IPs will have uh, the task tracker as well as the data node started with, but all the master IP will have the name node as well as the job tracker that will be there. Well, let's see, even I'll have to locate on that particular thing which port is on what itself, but there is one specific XML which configures or tries to add that particular part. Let's check it out. It's not something, it's the conf part. Here you can, let's see what we have configured so far. There are variables. If you check that out, that's something. Okay, let's, you have Hadoop PNV scheduler matrix site. If you open your, not this one, it's the core one where you specify those individual attributes as to where that is running in this one, in your HDFS, put it, just put this particular thing in your HDFS-site.xml. There is a property dfs dot, I think it's http dot address. Once you configure that, you can override the place where your name node is uh, coming up itself. Let's try to do that. Now these properties are actually listed if you go into Hadoop documentation, each and every property, but like specifically to all these individual nodes, I'll data graph on all the file number but not find 590 or anything. No, it might, you might not be finding it specifically written. There are some configured thing, you can overwrite it, and many of the default settings it takes. So here it is the case. PRO, you can configure a property. This is HTTP. And again, you just have to do a minor set. It's all available, not that important one in that how you change that visual thing. But suppose I want to now run it on 1071. Should configure value. Okay, sorry. This should be a value thing. Now this is a stop thing. We'll have to stop the cluster and then we'll have to start, because name node on all these are like, sorry, all these processes are already up and running on it. So let's try to do that. See if it makes the changes. That's what the documentation says, that it should be able to do that. Dot stop on all dot sh. Even for stopping, it will be asking you to configure the same on that particular part. When you put JPS, nothing works. So we have specified actually that particular value. I think this time it should be able to configure the same. Let's try to run it and see if it gives you the direct access for that particular thing. So it's configured. Now let's we did stop it. The changes are done. Let's start the cluster. Welcome one. Come on. Let me open you guys for. Just unmute you guys. Make sure that if you're not asking, mute your system. Let's check that out if it's running. Think we might have to. Let's see. The syntax might be okay. And this time we put it at 71. So this is the one which was running on 75. Sorry for that. Just one thing. Control T HTTP colon 71. Okay, nothing is coming in. Good. No issues. Let's see. Slash. Okay. This is running on port 70 on this particular part itself. Okay. Give me one more minute. Let's check it out. This is. You can certainly configure it. It's just that I think there is some syntax related thing. I'll fix it up. Okay. Let's try this out. HTTP. The property dfs.http. Okay, there was an issue. It doesn't actually recognize these things. To insert dot, that's the first thing, and I think the next one should be you need to put your name node and then name node 5071 DFS property. It didn't give any exception, so this was good. Yep, dfs.http.address name node colon 5070. This should be good enough. Let's write and quit dot ls cd bin dot slash stop all. Welcome one. Again, it's not a common requirement to change these default ports itself, but this particular at least attribute is there which you can use to override these ports directly if you want to run it at a specific location or a port. Let's see if it goes there. JPS, that's well and good. CD dot cd conf cat hdfs site, just to make sure that yeah, our changes are there. 171. Good. Sorry. Come out. cd bin dot slash start all. I think, yeah, Mr. person who has shared this one. So this is, I think, the blog. If you see, we have someone who has shared with us. Let's first try to put one thing at a time. But yeah, on Cloudora, I think you guys can take a look. All these ports and individual specific details are available. Put JPS, it runs there. Let's try to see if it has taken the changes. Not on this one, the map reduce one. Okay, now nothing runs on 70, so that's good. Let's try to see the 71. Okay, so it's not. Okay, okay. We did set it to 571 slash, it should be running. Sorry guys, I think it was on a mute. I was telling that this is something it was there. We are able to change the port itself, if you can see. Now this is a working on 580 thing. That's something which is available. There was some syntax change which was uh, not there, and that's where it came in. So that fix you guys can do it. We tried couple of things. I think the right one was that you have to specify the whole HTTP and all. That makes sense. So that's something is available. Let's try to check where are we at the bin. Let's go up and we'll now try to see the admin ports on that particular thing itself. DFS admin -re report. You can see that it gives you pretty much the same detail which you have, excuse me, which you have the same detail which you have pretty much once you open the name node at the first time. It gives you a good amount of data. The data node available is one because this is the only single box that you have. It's not dead, it's working up and fine. The capacity usage and all. Now this is all for guys to take a good analysis. What is remaining, how much is available. It tries to give you the good details. The more number of nodes that you have, the more detailed this particular individual report will be and all. Okay. One other thing that we talked about was that let's try to see if this in what particular state this particular name node is. Okay, so now the name node seems to be up and running. Let's see, we want to push now our this name node through in a safe mode. So report is one such thing. Let's try to push it in a safe mode, and we know what is a safe mode. So we just use -safe mode and then do enter. It will give you a syntax of what all are the applicable things at a DFS admin level. So safe mode, these are the options that you give. So let's first try to enter it and then we'll try to get out of it. We'll do enter. Just a minute. Hyphen safe node space enter. That's what we did. DFS admin hyphen name node hyphen safe. Okay, sorry, there is a typo. Safe mode dot enter. Now you can see safe, it says that safe mode is on. If you go and take a look, it should be telling you here a prompt will come. You can see safe mode is on. Now let's try to check the significance. We know that when it is in safe mode, you cannot write into the file system. So let's try to violate that constraint. bin/dfs it's Hadoop dfs hyphen mk. Let's do ls slash. You can definitely do it in a read mode. So that's something you can see here. batch3/630/data/pg10.txt. Oh, sorry, what am I doing? Cat. I can definitely read the file, no issues on this. Let's try to create another directory. We'll call it as output there and see if it allows us to do that. You can see it throws you this exception. Cannot create directory, batch this one. Safe mode is in, name node is in safe mode. So you will have to come out of the safe mode to do this operation. Let's try to come out from the safe mode. We will say now leave. Safe mode is off. Now try to create that output directory and it is done. Bingo. So this is a real-time significance that many times when you have patch going on or some system maintenance or a window is on, system maintenance type of window is on, you just use that capability and it should be able to give you the details around it. One other thing that we wanted to check was, we are in this particular mode. Time to time I'm clearing, but you guys have all these commands already shared with you and all. So if you see, let's check the fsck command which was there in the Hadoop binary. We'll mention it, but by default this is not complete. You will have to specify the location of a folder in your distributed file system. So fsck slash, I want to check batch 3, that's the directory we want to scan. Okay, root exception connection is refused, error group authentication. That's interesting. To root, it just says it's not allowed. Java.net connection refuse me. Good one. Something. Let's try to change the properties for that. G plus w slash patch 3. Privilege section root cause unknown exception HTTP. Why it is giving HTTP as an unknown exception? Do it require? Let's check it out. bin/hadoop fsck. If I normal run it, what does it give? No, I don't want to run it for all the file system about it. Gets stuck there itself. fsck should be working unless until I tell it. Let's check it out. JPS, you have everything else running in root mode. We are okay. SSH localhost welcome one, we are good. So what's stopping this gentleman? Okay, home Oracle Hadoop bin/df/hadoop dfs, not dfs, we don't have to run it as a dfs command, it should be fsck slash patch 3 should be able to give me user group privilege FSCK. Is it a root mode? I'll have to check. Okay, it typically should not. I think there is some privilege related concern that is coming. Connection reduce HTTP. It cannot connect to that particular system. It's because the ports have been changed. Protocol HTTP open server HTTP is a relevant thing. FSCK in the distributed Hadoop file system. Okay. Let me check on this one. On your system, just try it out. It may not come in. This is something that sees that if we have the privilege, if you can see, we have checked in DFS. DFS, and directly you can run it. You don't need to do any DFS admin type of thing, and we are that user thing. Let's check it out. DFS -ls and root. Who owns that? Super user, root, route, execute, everything is available. I have to say what is the user privilege because of which this FSCK is not running, but yeah, file system check is a normal utility which you can run at this level too. Excuse me, to get detail putting in. One other thing which I wanted to show you guys was some of the properties actually that you will be configuring. So let's try to see the image copy that we have for our FS image and all those copies that we talked about earlier. So let's do a cat core. So ours is app Hadoop TMP. So we'll go there, app Hadoop TMP, do an ls. You can see it creates both. These are temporary directories shared with your DFS, that is HDFS, as well as your map reduce, which will come later. Go into DFS, ls, go into your CD name, ls. You can see your actual copy. If you do ls -ltr, you can see about 4 MB of your HDFS distributed file system. It has a previous checkpoint, which is the last stored backup copy, and all that is available. If you go into the other one, it will show you the edit file itself, but if you go into image, it shows you the FS image. You can see ls -ltr. It would have the access. If you try to do a cat, it's about, it should be incompatible corrected thing itself, because that's something. Try to even open it also, that's something what it copes. You can see that hexadecimal character, that's not something, a file which needs to be open. It's all in a binary format. But let's go back and take a look. So this is the place where it is actually storing the physical copy. You have to configure, this is the default that has been configured. If you want to make it more soundproof and fail-safe, in your core thing, this is where you have put in, where you put this particular location, just use comma separated and put other mount points so that it will write the same copy FS image and to all the files or all the folders where you have, which you have specified. So you mount another hard disk or a file system, distributed file system, and keep it separated by comma. This is the place. Under this property, put it comma separated value, and that many copies it will write it there. You have to actually specify this is for the temporary thing, but if you want to make sure this copies of FS image and all gets configured, you will use that property called dfs.name.dir. that is in your hdfs-site.xml. you can put that property and do a comma separated thing. By default, on a quasi clustered or a single node, this is the place where you can see your files available. If you go into your name secondary, this gentleman will have a old copy. If you can play around with the timestamp and see, it will be there. So this is somewhere you are in the name secondary thing itself. Go back, go into data. This just looks or gives you some internal things. I think in the TMP it has nothing comes in, but yeah, do I'll say some dig around on this one, but at least from a normal admin as well as normal DFS admin type of thing, you should feel comfortable executing those commands. I'll be sharing now, depending upon the individual depth you want to go, strategies to do replication, strategies to do or how to do upgrade, as well as also to configure replication scripts if you are across multiple data centers and trying to make sure that your Hadoop is picking the nodes which are not in the same rack itself and all. So that's something which you can practice out and share your understanding as well if you happen to find something new. This is where we close our exercise for the basic SDFS level and developer as well as the admin level commands. In the next part, we will interact through the HDFS file system in a programming way using the Java API. Thanks for the session.